Hello everybody, so anyway, today we are going to be doing a reaction to the YouTube. So I really had Sonic Frontiers on my channel. Now I've not completed the game, but now I've got it. Do I care if it's spoiled? No. Because once you get a game, you're just like, oh okay, dude. Okay. Anyway, today we're going to react to Good to Evil and Weak to Powerful by One Up Binge. Last night with Sonic themed, we reacted to Sonic Prime, which is not One Up Binge. This time it is different. I've decided why not do that. I'm also going to be working on lyrics on the mod if my computer's loaded up. If not, I'm just going to be working on the lyrics anyway. Anyway, let's go and continue.
After so much build-up and hype, Sonic Frontiers has finally arrived. With this being an open-world game, Frontiers is a big step forward for the franchise, and Sonic isn't alone in this journey. Along the way, he interacts with a few familiar foes and is introduced to some new ones.
Like Shade, who I still do not know massive crap about. Seriously. Maybe because I try to avoid most Sonic stuff, but yeah.
They're good guys, bad guys, and possibly some in between. Today, we'll see who falls into what category. Hey guys, I'm Brad with One Up Binge, and this is
why is Sonic that anyway?
Sonic Frontiers characters, good to evil. Let's start with some rules. First, we'll be looking at each character as they are specifically in this game. Anything they do outside of this story will be omitted. We're going to focus on individual characters as opposed to groups, so the Ancients and Cocos will be left off. Alright, let's get
because Cocos are kind of civilians too, but anyway.
To the list. As usual, we'll start with the most noble character and work our way down. These characters are the good. The most heroic character is, of course, Sonic. No surprise.
Yeah, no surprise there. Also, this time, instead of cockiness, seriously, he actually has more of a heroic than I've seen.
There, since he's the main character, but there's a bit more to it than that. After winding up on the Starfall Islands and seeing that his allies are missing, Sonic jumps into action to figure out what's going on.
Oh yeah, I'm still trying to do this, but he also tries to save his friends.
Several obstacles and foes stand in his way, but regardless of how bad it gets, Sonic doesn't let anything stop him from trying to save his friends. He even encourages them, with the highlight being Tails. Tails asks Sonic if he's a burden, thinking he hasn't done anything useful. Sonic then reminds Tails of several feats that he's accomplished on his own. This encourages Tails to go out on his own to mature and start acting
I'll need to go up there, but maybe I can see help after.
Or independently.
By that I mean look at tutorials.
Think of this as a continuation of his independent story arc from the first Sonic adventure. Even when a new character, Sage, is regularly antagonizing him, Sonic only wants to help her more and more as he learns about the whole situation. His tenacity really helps him take the top spot. As each of his friends are freed from their containment, Sonic absorbs more cyber energy, gradually corrupting his body. On Rhea Island, Sonic is disabling the giant towers scattered around the island. Each time he does this, the cyber energy affects him more. Despite this, he keeps moving forward until his body
maybe I've just missed those stuff.
Ultimately caves into the energy, and he's trapped between dimensions. The moment he's freed, he jumps right back into action to save the world and his friends. His mission of saving his friends and the tenacity he has to pull this off, despite all that he faces, grants him the gold medal of good. Next, we have a three-way tie with Tails, Knuckles, and Amy.
Why is it the Sonic Beam stuff? I know Sonic Beam's coming like this month at the end, but seriously.
We put these three here because they play almost identical roles. They all get mysteriously imprisoned. When Sonic frees each of them, they are literally not all there. While they can communicate with Sonic and can be seen and heard in the physical world, they can't physically interact with anything. As a result, the ways they can help are limited. That being said, they still find their ways. The countless creatures roaming the islands, known as Cocos, are all having issues that are connected to the Ancients. Each of the three characters, along with Sonic, do what they can to help them find peace while still being able to work towards the primary goal of the game. It all comes to a head in the final act. By now, Sonic has become fully corrupted by the cyber energy, and the other three have made it back into the physical world. However, after seeing that Sonic has been fully corrupted, they willingly gave up their newly reclaimed freedom, went back into cyberspace, and ultimately saved Sonic. After being saved and brought back to the physical world once again, they all embrace, high-five, and fist-bump, respectively. They then fly out towards their own adventures. Despite their troubles,
nice friends.
they did everything they could to contribute towards the success of the overall mission, and did so in very similar ways. This is why they all have earned a Silver Medal of Good. The Bronze Medal of Good goes to Big the Cat. In terms of
Yeah, Big's nice, and also all he does is this fish. Anyway,
story, we have no idea how Big wound up in these fishing spots found in portals like this. Heck, not even Sonic knows. Big never answered his questions. That being said, Big was a surprisingly welcome addition to Frontiers. Most people might remember him for his notorious fishing levels in Sonic Adventure. Many people have made complaints about it over the years, saying that it's boring and doesn't really contribute much to the story. Plus, they make you play it if you want the final act of the game. Big is actually better here. The fishing isn't as tedious to go through, and it isn't necessary to beat the game at all. What helps make this minigame at least semi-enjoyable, along with helping Big get the Bronze Medal of Good, is what happens every time you catch something. Big will offer you tokens each time, offering more
oh yeah, he does. I think I've had that green. I think.
some of the bigger catches. As a result, you can purchase various items that can really help you on your adventure. For example, you can buy seeds or cocos, so that you don't have to search the island constantly, which really can speed up the process of leveling up.
And then if you want to get like the word power, guess what you can do? You can do that instead of trying to complete millions of challenges. So now the big there, I can go and find the big one, do it with Big, yay.
Additionally, you can grab egg memos from him, which help flesh out Eggman's experiences and character within this game's story. None of this is necessarily needed, but the fact that Big gives you the option to minimize some of the collectathons in the game gives him the Bronze Medal of Good. Our final entry for the good category is Sage. If you
Wait, what? What? Pause. Why is Shade there, guys? Isn't Shade the evil one? Okay, like I said, I do not know that much, so let's just see.
only saw the promotional material and trailers, you might initially believe that Sage would be the overarching antagonist. Even when you
Yeah, that's what I always believed. Yes.
start playing, it may still come across that way.
Also, after hearing Shade's Eggman's daughter, the only Sonic thing I've heard before, I immediately thought she was evil. So, yeah.
However, things change as the story develops. It turns out that Sage is an advanced AI that was created by Eggman that was meant to protect him from various dangers. Yes, it is true that Sage is antagonizing Sonic for a good chunk of the game, but there's a reason.
Yes. So Shade is one of the worst characters along with Eggman. Well, I was for that, but you get what I mean, don't you? Shade is a bad character.
For that, Sonic doesn't realize that he's being manipulated by, thus ultimately helping, the main villain as he journeys through the Starfall Islands. With Sage not realizing this, she believes Sonic is intentionally acting as a threat to the islands. As a result, she tries to wipe him out before he becomes more of a threat. As she keeps witnessing Sonic pressing on, along with seeing how much of a bond he has with his friends, Sage begins to change her thought process.
Jesse. Tell you what, I'll do that after I've done the writing, but the writing for mod. But seriously,
begins to feel more sympathetic towards Sonic, as well as legitimately respecting him. By now, realizing Sonic's real intentions, she starts thinking of ways that can help save everyone involved. She even goes as far as suggesting that Eggman should ally with Sonic, much to Eggman's
Jesse, I do not remember that. Okay, I've not got up that far. I'll be playing more of it later.
initial dismay. She began as what seemed like a cryptic villain, but she ultimately helped save the day and sacrificed herself. If we had a nickel for every time a Sonic character sacrifices themselves in a climactic space battle in the game they were introduced in,
Sorry. I would say 10 million.
we'd have 2 nickels. It isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Now,
Another good one was I think Tika. Sorry, I do not know how you pronounce it. Tikal in along with Chaos. Apparently Chaos is a good guy now. What?
it's time for the characters that are between good and evil. This is the gray area, and we actually only have one character, and that goes to Dr. Eggman.
Pause. What? Eggman's the main villain. How is he grey?
Eggman is Sonic's primary foe in the franchise, along with the fact that Eggman has done some terrible things.
Yeah, so many terrible things. It could be about the games could be a video. Okay, I'm waiting because you is not there.
Mind that we're only focusing on this game.
I'm thinking of films on my.
The fact that he's trapped in
Yeah.
cyberspace for the majority of the game, Eggman doesn't actually do too much in Frontiers that could be considered evil. While he initially goes to the Starfall Islands to try and take control of technology made by the Ancients, he
Yes, that was the start of the game. He tried to take control.
doesn't get very far. For most of the story, he tasks Sage with finding ways for him to escape cyberspace. Those egg memos you can collect help with this character as well. These help show that Eggman would still have bad intentions after he eventually escapes, along with his continued loathing of Sonic. That would put him in the evil category. Even after he's freed, he celebrates a little bit when Sonic is completely corrupted by the cyber energy, and then does the opposite when Sonic is freed soon after. There are two things that put him in the gray area. The first being the special bond he has with Sage. At first, he seems to think of her as one of his greatest creations and nothing more. However, as you read more Egg memos, as well as his progress further into the story, it turns out that Eggman acts like a father towards Sage. He actually cares about her, and while you can't see his face, you can tell exactly what he's feeling when he's looking up at the sky at the end of the game, watching as many streaks of light fall from the sky. The game's final cutscene even shows him working on bringing Sage back. When he hears her voice again, he simply says, "That's my girl." We never really thought of Eggman as a father figure to anyone, but this really works.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. Mainly.
The other instance that helps boost Eggman into the gray area is the final act. While he's incredibly reluctant to team up with Sonic, regardless of the risk involved if he doesn't, he eventually gives in. He and Sage begin looking for the Chaos Emeralds, and Eggman gives the one he found to Sonic, knowing that he would be the one able to save everything. He also lets Sage help Sonic, showing deep concern for her and begging her to be careful as she goes to space to confront the big evil. He had bad intentions initially, but he does some surprisingly good things, granting him a spot in the gray area. Hey, it's a step in the right direction. Now it's time to go to the...
Yeah, but he's still evil. He's still evil. Don't forget about that.
Lowest of the low. These are the ones that have little to no redeeming qualities. These are the evil. And just like the gray area, we only got one character, and that is the end. There's so much going...
Pause. What guys, what's the end? That is just like a simple planet.
For this character, and none of it is good. While it's not entirely clear who or even what the end actually is, the actions they have committed in this game's plot are devastating. It turns out that the end is an extremely powerful entity. The end has gone on record as having destroyed many planets and worlds. As far as we know, this seems to be its only purpose or desire. They even went...
That seems like Galactus. That seems so much like Galactus from Marvel.
As far as destroying the original home of the Ancients, as well as most of the Ancients themselves, which are the apparent ancestors of the Chao and Sonic Adventure's Chaos. You know, the one referred to as the God of Destruction. Eventually, very few Ancients were left alive, and the small amount of survivors would flee to what would eventually be known as Angel Island. If you face off against the end on hard difficulty, you will get even more context on how bad this character is. Not only are they constantly berating Sonic, insulting him through many portions of this bullet hell fight, but the end also goes on to say things like countless stars, countless worlds, countless lives, all fell to me, all brought to nothing. The end intends to destroy just about anyone, regardless of who it is. Not only this, but they don't show any remorse for their actions, and they make it clear that they're gonna do this for the foreseeable future. The end
That's just bad.
has no redeeming qualities, making it so it not only gets the gold medal of evil in Sonic Frontiers, but possibly the entire franchise.
The end just looks like a planet.
Alright guys, that's it. Let us know what you think. Did you...
That just reminds me of Planet like Galactus. Next one, and it looks like it's... I wonder why.
Sonic Frontiers is Sonic's latest adventure that's been released for all to play. With this being an open world game, a few other new things have been brought to the forefront. This includes new ways to play levels, different routes to explore environments, and, of course, new characters. These new additions to the cast made us wonder how they stack up in power to the returning faces in the franchise. We're going to find that out here today. I'm Keefe Nossi with 1UP Binge, and this is Sonic Frontier characters, weak to powerful. First, the rules. Right off
Wait, what did you do Knuckles this week? I'm pretty sure Knuckles is the stronger one.
the bat, we're going to be focusing solely on how powerful these characters are in this game alone. Anything they do to demonstrate forms of power outside of the game won't be brought up here. That being said, there are sources outside of the game itself, i.e. comics and animations, that are still connected to this game's story in some way. Those will still be considered. We are also going to focus on how powerful the characters are in their base current state. In other words,
Okay.
Super Sonic will not be a factor here. If he could transform at will without the help of the Chaos Emeralds, then it would be different. As with other lists like this, we'll start with the weakest of the characters and work our way up to the most powerful. Coming in at the very bottom is Big the Cat. Neither
Yeah, Big doesn't really do that much besides fish.
we nor even Sonic himself seem to really know what Big is doing here in terms of the story. While Big's fishing minigame, combined with what he can do with the tokens you give him after each catch, can be really helpful in minimizing the grinding needed for various things, that's really the only thing Big is here for. Big doesn't really demonstrate any form of strength nor power in this game. He literally stands in one spot, allows Sonic to use his spare fishing rod, and not much else. He may now be
Yeah, that's kind of true.
voiced by the guy who has voiced other powerful characters like Gohan and Dragon Ball. That does not count at all. He's very helpful, but he's not shown to be powerful, hence why he's at the very bottom of our list. Managing to stay out of the very bottom
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be powerful in lots of games, does he?
of the list is Baldy McNosehair himself, Dr. Eggman.
Well, Eggman's weak this time. Okay.
If this were a list covering how powerful a character's mind was, Eggman would be right near the top. However, since that isn't what we're doing, Eggman remains here. In terms of
You're not smart.
Frontiers, Eggman doesn't demonstrate much that exemplifies raw power. He can usually be seen either in front of a computer or in his Eggmobile trying to figure out how to get out of cyberspace. He's even created a new character, who we will talk about later, with the specific task of protecting him.
Shade.
Eggman does at least show that he can be more aggressive than Big ever really has been, which gives Eggman a leg up on him. As
Yeah, we kind of know his, guys. His, like I said last time, it was his Sonic's big bad.
much as that isn't really an accomplishment. The prologue comic tied into the game's story where Eggman was featured doesn't really add much in terms of demonstrating power, but it still shows Eggman contributing even more to the story than Big has.
Yeah, I wonder why. Also, well, maybe Styx is now canon.
Which again isn't saying much, but either way, within the context of this game, Eggman will be placed above Big. Really, unless some unknown DLC comes out that can help boost Big up in his power-based feats, he will stay at the very bottom under Eggman, forever.
Yeah, DLC. Guys, if Sega, if you're in this video, please boost Big's up.
Anyway, moving up a little further on the list, Amy is the next one up. This is where we start to get characters actually showing some notable
Yeah.
forms of power. If we looked at the game itself, Amy would probably be stuck right at the bottom as well. For the vast majority of the game, she's trapped in cyberspace. After being freed from her prison, she can be seen by and talked to by Sonic, but she can't physically interact with anything. This limits what she's able to do to help. This is where the tie-in comic Sonic Frontiers Prologue Convergence comes in. Within the first couple of panels, the first thing we see Amy doing is going up against some of Eggman's robots on her own. She doesn't appear to have any injuries whatsoever, implying that she can hold her own for at least a little while. One panel even shows her using her hammer to knock back one of the giant robot arms, showing that she has more strength than she might let on. Just the fact that she's seen doing something to demonstrate power in some way puts her above the previous two. Just above Amy on our list is Sonic's best bud, Tails. Tails is in a very similar
Yes.
boat as Amy. Both were trapped in cyberspace for most of the game, both could contribute very little in the real world, and both get some redeeming moments of power in the tie-in prologue comic. You might think that Amy would be placed higher than Tails in this regard. In this comic, Amy does a lot more of the fighting, whereas Tails begins by disassembling part of the robot. However, Tails has one image in the comic in his favor that puts him above Amy. As they're attacking the giant robot's legs, Amy uses her hammer to dent one of them, while Tails uses his Tails to slice a leg in half.
What the? Pause. What did you say? Slice a leg in half. What?
Amy uses her hammer for most of her striking power, whereas Tails apparently doesn't need a weapon to pull off even more insane feats.
I did not know that. I thought he was the better version of Eggman. Yeesh.
This one moment that we feel comfortable with placing Tails just above Amy for this particular list. Tails isn't the last of Sonic's allies to wind up on the list, as Knuckles appears on the next step up. Knuckles is already well known to be the muscle of the group, and he certainly has his chance to
Yeah, besides Sonic being the most powerful, but
show that off a little bit here. Unfortunately, he does not get as much of a chance as he would have liked, as he ends up enduring a similar fate to that of Tails and Amy. It also doesn't help that Knuckles was not featured in the prologue comic that we've been talking about. However, there was actually a full-on animated short called Sonic
I saw that.
Frontiers Prologue Divergence that stars the Red Echidna. In that animation, Knuckles is exploring more of Angel Island when he comes across one of those mysterious portals that can be found on Starfall Islands. Upon inspecting it, as well as being brought through the portal, Knuckles gets ambushed by a group of soldier robots.
That explains why he wasn't in the start of the game.
He actually fights a bunch of them off, one after another, and as for the rest, he punches the ground and a huge chunk of the cliff collapses under the soldiers. Knuckles takes care of the last one that tries to survive, and the battle ends. Knuckles then gets attacked by Sage and one of the Asuda Guardians, and then he quickly gets imprisoned. All of the feats he pulls off in this video greatly demonstrate some of the raw power he possesses, easily putting him above everybody we've seen so far.
Then one day Tails becomes the most... Okay, I'm gonna joke now, but one day Tails becomes more powerful than Eggman. Anyway.
Sonic Frontiers list, or rather any Sonic list, without the main hedgehog himself, Sonic. Being the main protagonist, you would probably think Sonic has noteworthy moments of power, and
He has lots.
you're right. Sonic is able to use his incredible speed to not only traverse the islands in relatively short amounts of time, but for his incredible new combat skills. Sonic has a skill tree in this game that gives him an increasingly wide variety of moves. Combining these together, he's able to take down most general enemies relatively quickly. He also gets some points for his ability to resist the cyber energy for as long as he does. While his body does eventually cave into it, he still resists its effects for a long time. Such examples of this can be found when he's disabling the giant towers on Rhea Island. Each time he shuts one down, the cyber energy is affecting him more and more. Even though he's going through visible pain, he presses on until his body finally gives out. Sonic is also able to take out any of the Guardians in a short amount of time, especially as he levels up. This is why we put him above Knuckles. Knuckles is attacked by an Asuda Guardian, and it cuts to him having been captured soon after. While we don't know for sure if this means that he lost to the Guardian, or if Sage captures him before an actual fight begins, one thing is for sure, we haven't seen Knuckles beat Guardians of that size in this game's story, but Sonic is shown to certainly be able to. Sonic may not be as physically strong overall as Knuckles, but his speed, fighting moves that he combines with it, and his feats of resisting the cyber energy for as long as he does make up for that. Maybe some DLC will come out demonstrating Knuckles with even greater moments of power one day, but...
And maybe Tails and Big and Amy. Listen, I want to see the whole Sonic. Cool.
Now, this is all we got. Up next is another of the main characters in the game, Sage. If you haven't played Sonic Frontiers yet, you're probably of the mind that Sage is the main antagonist. This is actually not the case. It turns out that Sage antagonizes and attacks Sonic through a good chunk of the game because she thinks that he's intentionally acting as a threat to the islands.
Oh.
He controls many of the Guardian robots on the islands, as well as prompt most of the Titans as a means to go up against Sonic. This is the biggest reason why we're putting Sage above Sonic on this list, at least for now. Sonic is unable to defeat these Titans without the power of the Chaos Emeralds, but Sage is able to manipulate them with her
Actually, no. There was other times that he has beaten them. Lots of them.
Abilities with seemingly little effort. Not only this, but in the final act of the game, Sage is able to completely control the final Titan, which goes by the name Supreme. Sonic also needs the Chaos Emeralds to defeat it initially when it's possessed by the game's real villain. If Sonic and Sage were to go toe-to-toe without any outside help, perhaps Sonic could pull off a win. That being said, we could easily still see their initial battle
Sonic X, really.
a lot like Sonic's first encounter with Shadow in Sonic X, where Shadow's constantly teleporting, which Sage can also do, and keeps catching
Yes, that's the annoying.
Sonic off guard with surprise attacks, taunting him as he goes. We could still see and understand some arguments being made to say that Sonic is stronger, but for now, until we see more of Sage in the future,
I'd say Sonic's more powerful though.
which
Really?
does seem like a very distinct possibility with this game's final cutscene, we're going to put her higher than Sonic. We have now reached the character that we believe is the most powerful in the game, and they are simply referred to as, coincidentally for this spot,
We mentioned the end.
The end. While we aren't entirely certain at this point who or even what the end actually is, we can say for certain that this character is an incredibly powerful one whose goal seems to be simply to destroy everyone and everything. This character has gone on record within this game to have previously destroyed entire races of creatures,
That sounds like Galactus too many times.
planets, and even stars. Think of the end, especially when it takes on its moon form, as being like the Death Star from Star Wars, if it were sentient. Upon being freed from cyberspace, the End quickly takes control of Supreme, the final Titan in the game. It's only when Sonic takes on his super form that he's able to beat the End in this state. However, this climactic fight is not yet over. The battle's taken to space, where the End takes on the form of a giant moon. Whether you get the full experience of the battle by playing on hard mode or not, one thing is clear. It ultimately takes the combined might of Super Sonic and Sage, who controls the Supreme Titan, to defeat the End in, well, the end. If Sonic and Sage tried to fight this character without Chaos Emeralds nor Titans, we don't think they would last very long. It's
Unless Sonic says some more power, who knows.
with this, along with how this being is able to destroy many planets, that we believe the End is easily the most powerful character in Sonic Frontiers. Saying that, this goes for not only this game, but quite possibly the whole Sonic franchise. Anyway, tell us what you think of our ranking.
Okay, Sonic could go sit a bit more. Yes, the end seems like powerful. I will hopefully be able to beat him anyway. Have a good day, and Sonic's a cool character.